at the McNeese Convention Center, South Meeting Room, 501 Rio Concho Drive, San Angelo, Texas, for the purpose of considering the following agenda items. Number 1, call the meeting to order. It is 8:30. Meeting is now in order. Number 2, prayer. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today and the blessings you bestow upon us here in the fine city of San Angelo. Be with us today during our deliberations. Grant that all that we may do may bring you honor and glory. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Number 3, public comment. Issues or items that are not on the agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, begin by stating their name, and limit remarks to less than 3 minutes. Board members may request that a discussed item be placed on a future agenda. The board takes public comment on all regular agenda items during the discussion of those items. Nora, do we have anyone registered for public comment?
No one is registered.
Okay, we'll turn to consent agenda. Item 4A, consider approving the regular meeting minutes from October 23rd, 2024. And B, consider approving the necessary corporation disbursement. Entertain a motion from the board to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Director Mantooth,
Second.
second by Director Gomez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now move to item 5, special agenda. This is what we've all been waiting for. Announcement of the 2024 San Angelo Business Plan Competition winners. The presentation will be made by Nora Navarez and Desiree Johnson. Ladies.
All right. Thank you, President Jones and the Costa DC Board, for your continued support of the competition and for providing the award funds for the 10th year in a row. We are here today to announce the judging panel's decisions for the 2024 San Angelo Business Plan Competition. My name is Desiree Johnson, and I am the director of the ASU Small Business Development Center and one of the competition coordinators, along with Nora Navarez with the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. And before I hand it over to Nora, I want to brag a little bit about our team and the role that we play in the competition. This year, we had over 40 initial entries for the San Angelo Business Plan Competition, with a total of $100,000 in total grant funds, along with additional in-kind prizes. We were excited to see so many participants. We begin the work of organizing the competition at the start of every year, as there is much work to be done. Because of this, I'd like to thank Nora and all of the time that she commits to playing a competition coordinator in the competition. Thank you. Together, we launched the application in the early summer and identified the finalists in late August. At that point, the business plan finalists went to work on drafting their plan and assessing their financials to showcase the potential for economic growth within their business. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the SBDC Business Advisors and the Norris Vincent College of Business student team members who worked alongside the SBDC Business Advisors, assisting the contestants throughout the competition with their business plans and presentations. The advising team spends countless hours. Well, actually, we do count. And combined, the team spent over 340 hours working side by side with the finalists to support their business planning efforts. So in an effort to recognize them, I'd like to call up our student team to share with us a little bit of this success. So Zian, Blavin, Lexian, would y'all mind coming up? Let's give them a big round of applause. We'll get a picture. And I just want to say these students are undergraduate students at the Norris Vincent College of Business. They have given of their time for class credit. and to have this experience working side by side with our business owners. And so we appreciate all that they've done for the competition, and their journey of putting their college education to practical skills and use with our small business owners. And I want to invite up Lexi Ann. She is one of our bravest student team members today. She was volunteered from the group to share a little bit about her experience in the competition. So Lexi Ann.
I truly have learned so much as an intern here at the SBDC. Everyone that I have come in contact with, or every advisor that I had worked with, has been so kind and so patient with me, and they have taken the time to teach me things. But it has also been an awesome experience because it has been so hands-on, and what I have learned is going to be something I will always remember, but it has also helped me build skills that I will continue to use throughout my career. And I'm very thankful for everyone at the SBDC and for this opportunity. Thank you.
Do we want to take a picture? Quick. Thank you so much. And I also would just like to take a second to provide values in action to our advising team. So this is something that we do internally. We have strong values that we strive and operate through as small business advisors throughout our network. And so I just want to say that our team of advisors has put those values into action in service, in excellence, in innovation, and integrity to be there working with these small businesses side by side. So guys, if y'all would just stand up, I'd like to recognize our business advisors. And Kate. Thank y'all so very much. And last but not least, we want to thank all of the contestants for their participation in the competition. We hope they receive great value from the process of working on their business plans and presentations. And whether or not you take home the check today, it may not feel like it today, but I do know that you get so much value out of working with the SBDC, knowing that we're here for you, your business advisors, beyond the competition to support you and continue that business growth, because we had an excellent year this year, lots of quality contestants, and that goes a long way in your next steps to business development as well. And then we want to thank our independent judging panel, made up of a cross-section of entrepreneurs and financial experts who had the incredibly difficult task of judging the competition and selecting our winners. The judging panel viewed the draft business plans and then viewed the in-person presentation from each finalist. The judging panel members were dedicated and took their responsibilities seriously. They deliberated carefully to award the funds, and we truly appreciate their time. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Nora, who gets to do the fun checks.
Okay, so every year I look forward to this competition. It not only every year to see who wins, but also the experience. I think so long as we've been working on this, we keep growing every year. So SBDC, thank you very much for your partnership. ASU North Vincent College of Business students, thank you so much for taking your time to do this. I actually had a chance to speak with you all and learned that you really did enjoy doing this program and that you learned something from that. So I'm grateful for that. Okay, so the prize money, as Ms. Desiree said, the prize money is funded by the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. This competition is an opportunity for our local businesses to have their business grow from that, but not only grow, but also develop a viable business plan. With that said, I am happy to say that the judges selected all 3 places. Okay? So before I announce the winners, I would like to acknowledge our in-kind providers. So not only are the winners receiving money, but they are also providing our in-kind providers are local businesses here in San Angelo that are providing services. So you will receive an envelope that has those vendors on there. It is your responsibility to contact those vendors. And those that provided an in-kind provide was Foster Communication, San Angelo Live, Southwest Billboards, KLST, Oliver, Rainey and Wojcik, Lamar Billboards, Optimum Media, our Business Factory, Conexión, KSAN News, Live Design Print and Balloon Shop, and then also huge thanks to Media Advantage as well. Their generosity in providing a prize definitely helps our winners. Also, a big thank you to Angelo Awards and All About Science, because when we finally knew who the folks that were selected, we had to call them and they produced those checks and the plaques right away. So, so when I announce your name, if you will please come forward and say a few words, and then we will take pictures out in the foyer and we will have some refreshments in your honor. Okay? So we will go with third place. Okay. So third place will receive $20,000, the Canine Resort and Daycare.
Yes, I would like to thank the SBDC and the City of San Angelo for this opportunity and for hearing us out and for making us a winner. Thank you so much. It was a long journey and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I was very blessed, and I also want to thank my family members for helping me with this. I could not have done it without them, especially my mother. Thank you.
Okay. Second place goes to Angelo Donuts and Kolaches.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, SBDC and Angelo City, so for hearing me. And thank you, Dave and Lexi, so much for having us during this journey. And I really appreciate that. And of course, my husband, the best forever. I really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
All right. Okay, first place goes to Rankin Transmission.
Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, thank you, obviously, to James and ASU, student advisor. It really is true that by the time you've gone through this process, you've already won because you learn so much, even when you think you kind of already knew what you were doing when you went in. I have to say, I guess I'd blocked it out. I didn't really realize it till my sister pointed it out the night before. See, we inherited this business from my father, and as it turned out, my presentation was on the 1-year anniversary of his passing. So this is for him and for his legacy, and I promise you that we will make you all proud that you invested in what we're going to do for the future of San Angelo. Thank you.
Okay, so as Ms. Desiree stated, that with the rest of our business plan, folks, I thank you all for your time, for being here. I know that at times it is hard, but one of the things in the guidelines, it doesn't state that you can't enter again. So we look forward to seeing you again, and here's to next year. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, now we're going to take about a 20-minute break so we can have a reception to honor and celebrate the winners of the business plan competition. That will take place out in the foyer. It is 8:46, so let's plan to be back and resume the agenda no later than 9:10. Brian? He says we're ready? Okay, it is now 9:11 a.m. We're back in session to consider item number 7, regular agenda. A, consider approving a resolution authorizing the board president to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with Park Hill Smith and Cooper Incorporated in a sum not to exceed $275,000 to perform professional engineering and design services for the preparation of engineering plans and technical specifications for infrastructure improvements in Phase 2 of the San Angelo Business and Industrial Park, a project authorized under Chapters 501 and 505 of the Development Corporation Act for infrastructure improvements necessary for development of a portion of the San Angelo Business and Industrial Park, subject to approval of the City Council. Presentation by Bob Sneeman. Morning, Bob.
Good morning. I'd like to again point out that those captions are not our idea. They kind of come from the legal department. No problem.
Did you get the number of that bus?
Okay, this item is talking about the final portion of infrastructure improvements for what we've called Phase 2 of the industrial park. This would be Phase 2.3. And generally speaking, the area that's clouded there in red is the area that encompasses Phase 2.3, although the infrastructure would only include sort of this area and then this, those streets plus a detention pond here. Since Park Hill Smith and Cooper did the design of the first phases, and they have all the survey information and everything from the rest of it, it made sense to look to them for the final phase of this, because they also did some preliminary design on this. As a part of this contract, we'd like to also have them look at the concept, the overall concept layout, and perhaps recommend some changes to us. For instance, I think we might want to look at moving this detention pond down to this location, and also maybe changing the configuration of that street a little bit. Gives us a little more buildable property in this area, and also gives us this area as potential for development, and pushes the detention pond back to an area that we may not ever develop otherwise. I'd also like to have them look at the extension of this street, which is now intended to go down and tie into FM 380. I don't know if that makes sense or not at this point, particularly as we look at the future of Phase 3, which is actually off to the east. So the contract deliverables from Park Hill Smith and Cooper would be a concept plan, a conceptual drainage analysis, basically covering the things I just talked about, any additional surveying that they needed, a revised preliminary plat and revised final plat, and then actual construction documents. We can set these up as tasks and do them on a task order basis, where do task 1, and once we approve that, then they go to task 2, etc. That's the way I'd like to do it. Those were the deliverables. These are the actual tasks: preliminary engineering, final engineering, which includes surveying, platting, infrastructure design, and bidding, at a total cost of $275,000. On the last phase of the project, Phase 2.2, we didn't use much of the bidding and construction phase documents. That's about $75,000 on this one. Depending on who the project manager is at the time this is done, we may or may not need those services. I think we should probably include them, but obviously those would not take place until construction begins. I think that's it, if the board has any questions.
Bob, go back to the previous slide with the survey or the plat.
The map?
Yeah, the map. Yeah. How many acres are we looking at total that they're kind of, for this phase? What are we looking at here? I see 30 up on the top, another 35.
30, you talking about for just the detention or?
Well, just overall,
The
we're
whole
looking
overall?
at this whole phase. What is it encompassing?
I think
About
every-
70 probably.
70, all right. So if we did the math, obviously we're going to incur costs to doing this, but, we probably could add that to the cost when we sell the lot. So if we're looking at 275 over, you said about 70 acres, we're looking at about a cost of maybe $3,000 to $4,000 an acre is what this is really going to cost us, right? Roughly,
Yeah, probably.
which would then we could really recoup and adding that to the price.
And those
future.
those things are all sort of variable, if you will. For example, somebody could come in and say, I'm going to buy this entire parcel. We don't need the improvements. By the same token, this area back here is developable off of this temporary cul-de-sac, but it's more developable if we have an alternative.
The other thing is that we might recoup those costs very quickly if we were to use the plans for the basis for a grant application. You don't necessarily recoup the costs, but having the shelf-ready documents makes you, puts you in a better position for a grant award.
That's correct. In the past, when we did the last EDA grant, we did not have plans in place, but what we did have in place at the time was if you remember the park certification that we had that was basically brand new at that time, had all the background information, everything was already there, and the engineers were able to come up with a set of plans quick enough to satisfy those requirements.
So are we thinking like for, say that top one, the 30 acres there, we're looking at subdividing that possibly into maybe 3 10-acre tracts?
Yes,
or?
yes. There's another layout that divides this into lots, sort of like that. And one of the things is this lot has this long curve in there now. That's why I'd like to try to square that off a little bit more.
Bob?
Yes, sir.
If you do square that off, are you concerned about the drivability for large vehicles?
Yes and no. That's why the long sweeping curve is there, is for truck traffic. But I think we can work out trucks go through intersections all the time. So if we make that a T intersection, for example, it would just be like negotiating any other. And we do have 40 feet of pavement out there on all the streets, so it's wider than a normal street.
Oh, okay, all right. It doesn't look that big, though.
Doesn't look that big, but it is. They're actually 80-foot right-of-ways.
So Brandon, will we ask for public comment first or after motion's been made and seconded?
We don't have to ask because there isn't anybody signed up.
Okay. Well, I guess entertain a motion from the board to approve this resolution.
So move.
Motion made by Director Puelo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Director Spano. Any further comment or discussion, questions from the board? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
And we transition into item B. Consider a resolution authorizing the board president to negotiate and execute an economic development incentive agreement with Skyline Aviation, a project authorized under chapters 501 and 505 of the Texas Development Corporation Act, necessary to promote economic development and expand business enterprises which create or retain primary jobs, and recommending approval by City Council. Presentation made by Bob Schneeman. Bob?
Thank you, sir. We have representatives of both Howard College and Skyline here today too to answer questions if the board has any. So what I'd like to do is go through this rather quickly and then open it up for board questions. So what we're looking at is a new school for aviation mechanics, airframe and power plant certification. And that's an and, or I guess you can get airframe or power plant or both. It's a joint effort between Skyline and Howard College, and they'd like to set up a cooperative effort similar to what has been going on with, or what we've done with between Skyline and Angelo State University's pilot training program. That relationship seems to be working really well, and so I'd like to continue on that. Howard would offer a 2-year associate's degree, and then Skyline would offer about a 1-year, maybe a little more, certification program on the private side. So there are benefits and disadvantages to both. I'll let them go into that a bit more. Both would use the same facility, which is located about maybe a quarter of a mile north of Howard College in the tractor trail area. They would use the same facility, same instructor, same equipment. Requires approximately $1.5 million in initial investment for equipment and tools, including student toolkits. And these student toolkits are somewhere in the neighborhood, I guess, of about $1,000 each, and they leave with their tools. So as they finish the program, they leave with their tools, and then the next group coming in would have new tools issued to them. That's kind of a big deal if you're just starting out in this. They anticipate hiring 30 instructors at about $45,000 a year. Some of this information may be a little bit dated, and I'll let the folks behind me update you on anything there. The maximum student capacity of the existing facility that they're talking about using is 105 students. Now, they have a longer range plan to maybe do something out at the airport as well that would increase the student capacity. Howard College anticipates 20 to 24 students per semester. So if you look at 3 semesters, that would be 60 a year plus and I'm going to let them talk about their semesters. I'm not clear if it's 3 semesters or 4 per year. So I'll let them talk about that a little bit. Again, both would use the same facilities and instructors. And it's about a $1.5 million capital investment. Looking at Skyline's performance to date, as we talked about the fact that they are in a cooperative effort with ASU for the pilot training. So I put this together rather quickly, but I used 3 milestones: aircraft to be purchased, which is a significant investment, the number of instructors, flight instructors, and then the students. And we were targeting 2025 to have 30 aircraft. I'm sorry, 25 aircraft. They have 30, with 10 more coming in 2025. Instructors, we were targeting 40. They have 47. And student load, we were looking at 2025 of 200. They have 180 now. They're anticipating 230 in 2025. That could easily grow to 250. So what we're saying there is they've basically hit all of their benchmarks for that program. And that gives us a higher degree of trust, if you will, in what when they put a program together, it seems to work. So. I will back that one up. Okay. I'd like to open it up for board questions, and if Howard and/or Skyline would like to come forward and say, if they've got additional information they'd like to give you, that's fine. Otherwise, it's open for questions, I guess.
Clifton, if I could, please, for the board, we have this item also posted on the executive session. And so we anticipate questions and/or presentation or discussion as you would like in open session, but we also have it posted for executive session so that we can have the privilege of that discussion. And then, if necessary, when we come out of executive session, any additional public discussion you'd like to have. So,
Any questions from the board before we ask some of the representatives to come up and share? Well, I'd like to invite representatives from Skyline to come and give us their perspective on this proposal.
Good morning. Jared White. I'm one of the owners of Skyline, and here's our maintenance directors. We actually have our CEO and Becky and Jonathan. They're actually at a conference about the training program and all that stuff we're doing with mechanic schools. So they actually felt like that they need to go to that King's conference. That King is the company we're going to be using their curriculum, and they're actually getting trained up and all the other. Just a couple of things I wanted to let you know that are important to me, and the reason I feel like it's so unbelievably significant is we are trying to gear up to 50 to 60, 65 airplanes with helicopters and everything just for the flight school. Currently, what happens is there's such a need in San Angelo, Texas for these mechanics that it's actually inhibiting growth at the airport right now currently, much less whether it be in the oil field or anything else. I mean, even though these are very broad certifications, and when you have these certifications, it opens you up to, hey, here we want you to come because we know you've gone through these programs. Right now, everyone is fighting for, hey, an extra $1 an hour, someone's leaving. That everyone's fighting for talent to come around, and we have to have the mechanics for the flight school. But there's also been 3 different companies that have come forward that have actually told us, we have letters for you guys that have said, hey, we would build another facility, we would double our business, we would do all this if we have the confidence we could have the skilled labor. And so we know with them doing that new taxiway, with them opening up that greenfield, with all this other stuff, and the growth of what we, hopefully we're gonna move into with just the city of San Angelo being in Texas, all the the airspace and all that. We're hoping this is something that will spur a lot, because we look at it like, yes, we have 30 instructors and other staff and all these other stuff, but what we really want to look at is basically we are different from other places because, yes, it's 105. We feel like that Howard being 80, they're 2 different programs. Howard's going to be a 2-year program for younger kids that want to possibly go into a bachelor's degree, could possibly go into other stuff, but want to get something in place and go to work. And the 1-year program we would be doing, it's going to be on nights, weekends, and it's going to be basically for the older, like people that want to come back, get retooled, and go right back in the workforce, that want to come in and go as quick as they can. So they're actually 2 different programs. And the other thing is, once we kind of do this, we look at it like, okay, we're going to have 30 employees, but if we have let's say 100 people, and these are the type of people that want their kids to go to Lakeview, they want to go to Central, they want to go to Grape Creek. They're a lot of them want their kids to stay around. Mechanics are the type that don't want to go immediately and go to Dallas and in a big city. We feel like it's going to basically be the equivalent of, the way I look at it is, we're going to be putting, if we have half those kids stay, we're basically adding 50 employees to the San Angelo base a year, indefinitely. And we're hoping it'd be more than that. We're hoping this is actually, we feel like the capacity for this program is 140, 150 in the facility we have. But we're just trying to kind of work through it. And everyone said, it's, even, Jeremy at the airport and all these other people, they said, this is going to go just like we don't know, but they said, this is going to go like the flight school, meaning we feel like it's going to be a very popular program, we hope. But we just, we don't know until we get into it. I mean, when we went into flight school, ASU told us 5 to 7 kids the first year. We'll have 50 after the fifth year. At the end of the 5th year, we'd have 50. Day one, we had 27. And now we're at the end, we're starting the 4th year with 143 flying and 190 in the program. So we're looking at this, and we also have had, at the Aviation Advisory Board meeting the other day, the Southwest Airlines representative actually told me directly, I talked with our director of maintenance, and that same program, that 225 that they have for the flight people, they have the same program for mechanics. And he said, the only thing we need more than pilots are mechanics. And he said, if you will do that, we would like to get you guys ready with Howard College, get the curriculum together, get this 225 going in the mechanics area, and we feel like that would pull in a lot of kids from Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, Austin, where Southwest flies, because they have a maintenance place at every one of those places. So it would, again, it helps us with the marketing, and it helps us with the diversity of kids coming in, whether they're local, but then some outside, plus oil field, and hopefully, it lifts all boats. So that's sort of the overview. I just wanted to kind of let you know the way we're thinking about it, and then I'll let our guys get into the technical of how it all works and goes from there. But again, with the planes, with the other stuff, it's just a lot to get going, and equipment and all this other stuff to it's grown into something. It's like having a tiger by the tail. As you can imagine, when we thought we'd have 50 kids at the end of the 5th year, and we're at 200 starting the 4th year, it's grown into something. We're like, wow, we've got to stay in front of this. And anyway, that's just sort of a general overview of the way we're thinking about it, the way we wanted to talk to Bob and them. And the biggest thing is, we're not going to have as many employees as we do at Skyline or at the flight school. But basically, in this program, kind of like pilots, we feel like we are producing, 50, 70, 80 employees that are going to stay in San Angelo and have their kids. That's what they want. And with all these other businesses coming to us, we think that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Jared, I've heard peripheral occupations like elevators and escalators. I'd never heard oil field until it slipped through you just a few moments ago.
Well, that's not official. But I've talked to some of my friends and all these other people that basically what happens is it's like anything else. It's kind of like when the oil field was crazy busy in 2011 or whenever it was. And you had people that were halfway through a math degree and they hired them as engineers. So they took 3 geology class. They want someone that has proven to be, have that skill set, know what they're doing. And even if it doesn't go directly, it's kind of like a business degree. They're like, hey, I don't know your business. Don't worry. We know you can learn. We know that's what you're interested in. It will tell you what you want to know. Okay. This is how our business does. And I've talked to a lot of people in the oil field, whether it be Midland or whether it be guys locally that said, "Oh my God, we just want kids that are we know these kids. They go out there, they don't have a degree, but they can fix anything. They work on tractors. They work on all this other stuff. We want those kids, but if they have a certificate, it allows us to have even more. And then with that certificate, it allows that pay to go up." Because whether it's a 1 year or a 2 year, actually a 2 year through Howard is a little bit more valuable, and they actually on average will get paid more than the 1 year. But the guys that are 1 year don't want to go through all the other stuff. They want to get in. The older people, 30, 35 with a family, they want to go on nice weekends, have that certificate that says A&P certified, and go right back in and redo their career or get right into it. So it's not specifically for that. We can talk more about specifically what it does, but it's just in general, you're a mechanic.
Yep.
And people want those people that have that aptitude, of like, hey, don't worry about it. You're a mechanic. You've gone through this. You worked on engines. You worked on all this other stuff. We'll teach you what you're going to know. And I think that's another part of it that can be overlooked.
Gotcha.
You guys want to say anything?
I'm Garrett Taylor. I'm the Director of Maintenance at Skyline. Kind of adding on on what Jared was talking about, another career field that actually specifically looks for A&P mechanics is theme parks, which we don't really have anything locally here, but Six Flags and those kind of places definitely hire certificated aircraft mechanics because the rides and equipment that they have are very similar to aircraft. And just in my time here as the director of maintenance, one thing that I've seen is the pool of certified mechanics here in San Angelo is pretty small. And like as much as Skyline has been growing, we've been hiring, and we've brought people from halfway across the state. I had applicants from all over the country pretty much. I tried to stay a little closer to home when I was hiring new mechanics, but just it's easier to find someone locally in Texas that doesn't have to relocate. But there's definitely a need, and at any given time, I think there's 10 or 15 open mechanic positions in the area, and I'm quite confident that there's not 10 or 15 local mechanics looking for work. So there's definitely a need there.
So, given that, I know that one of the issues the flight school has to confront as it seeks to grow is finding enough flight instructors. But fortunately, the program creates its own.
Right.
And so virtually all of the graduates from the program who become CFIIs are going to want to turn around and work for Skyline to get the additional hours they need in order to be a commercial pilot. Given that there's such a shortage of aviation mechanics in the area, how easy will it be for you to identify and hire the mechanics instructors that you will need to ramp up? Because you talked, I don't remember the numbers that Bob put up. How many instructors were you talking about hiring?
It said, yeah, it was 30.
Okay. So do
It
you
was
have-
30 initially, but that will go up, I believe, as the student load goes up.
So your pipeline for instructors is a little different than it is for the flight school. So what are your plans to, you say you hit your student numbers, how will you make sure you have enough instructors for them?
I'm not sure that the 30 instructors number is at startup. I think that might be the goal. But I know we do already have quite a few instructors on the line. There's some older, semi-retired from the airport that have been in talks with. And Howard has several people hired as well.
So the instructors, we have two schools running side by side, the private school, Howard College. Will the Howard College, I'll let them answer, I said wait and let them answer in a minute. So the instructors teaching in the private school on evenings and weekends will be Skyline employees, and the instructors teaching during the day will be Howard College. Am I understanding that right? No, Jared says no.
No, I think that they'll be the same instructors. It's just, we're running the school for Howard. They're doing basically just some of the classroom instructions. I'm sorry. Yes, no, we're hiring the instructors kind of like we are with the CFIs for
Okay.
we're running the entire school. It's just what Howard's going to be doing is some of the adjunct professors, kind of like ASU does for the classroom and all that.
Okay, so all the instructors will be Skyline employees,
yes.
and similar to what you do with ASU.
We're exact same thing.
You'll bill Howard College for the hours
Correct.
for their students.
It's the same model we have, and it is true that we will be building up too, because Howard will have let's say they target 20 kids to start. That we're trying to start next fall. That's the key. We don't want to have to wait any longer. And the reason for all this is we have to have everything in place and set up for us to get our inspection, to get our 147 to get going, and that's just the rules of the game. They will not even come inspect until we have everything going, and it's a lot of equipment. So that's kind of why we're trying to. But But the deal is remember, they'll get to their 80 students, but it's going to take them a little time because they're going to start 20 in the fall and then 20 in the spring for 40 and then 20 next fall. Now, you have the 40, now we're at 60. Then, so it'll take a while, but they will get to a steady state. And they actually might, depending on what it is, might possibly boost that up and kind of like ASU has. But kind of like we start 80 kids at ASU, it's every single semester, not semester, but every single year in September. We're looking at different ways to kind of tweak that to make sure we can do. And then our school will be a rolling thing. When we get a class, we can roll it and we can get them started and going because we don't want to have people wait around for that. But it will be something that will be run very, very similar, exactly the same as the ASU thing, kind of like we have a private flight school outside of ASU
Right.
that's probably 20 to 30% of our business. And we don't know exactly what that is, but with 80 with them and we're looking at 50 or 60 private, that's when we get up to 120, 130, kind of thing to move on. But it won't be like, hey, we're going to have 30 people day one. It will be something, and we have people locate, people that are very interested. A lot of people that are older that want to kind of semi-retire, they want to help these kids. And we've seen a lot of that coming out where people are like, you know what, I'm in. I want to do this. They're certified up to here. And then we're hoping that with this program, we can get them kind of like the CFW double I's, and maybe even I got into it with the Southwest Airlines program, maybe it'll be the same way because they demand those kids stay and be CFIs for a certain amount of time. And that will, just like the ASU thing, if we can get it to where it's all ASU graduates, it's all of our CFIs, it basically standardizes our teaching methods. Now everyone's teaching the same because the one thing that is challenging as you ramp up these schools is you've got people from 4 different areas of the state. They all were taught by different people, and they all have their own habits, whether they're good or bad.
Right.
They're not standardized, and that's what we want to do. Is we want San Angelo teaching San Angelo, whatever. But we're gonna start with these people, and then train them the curriculum, and then we're gonna do it up, and then hopefully have our own people come back, and some of the older people or whatever is usually who does it because they all want to, it's just really a very beautiful thing. They all want to give back. They all want to be part of the kids. They all want to, do that kind of thing. So, and that's what we kind of feel like it's going to be. And that's why we have people that are more willing to come teach than they are, I don't want to go get a full-time job over here, but hey, I'm got 40 years experience as a mechanic and AMP, so I can totally do this. So, but we will be ramping up those instructors and we will be running everything.
Other questions from the board for the Skyline folks?
The only other thing I wanted to tell you is that we are not Dallas-Fort Worth, but we went to Tarrant College. We went to another American AMP school, and that has 4 different schools that have 200 plus kids, and every single, at any rolling time in their facilities. And the American AMP school is actually opening up another one in Phoenix because it's just the demand is so high. And anyway, the ones in Dallas, they said they average a 2-year waiting list. They're full with 200 kids. They have a 2-year waiting list, and they said, here's the equipment you get, here's what you do, here's what market it, and we have no problem with you guys coming. We actually were wondering whether they would, have us go through and see what they did, and they're like, hey, don't worry about us. We don't care, you're not pulling enough students. We're not Dallas-Fort Worth, but that's where our demand and then talking to local people helps us with that confidence with the demand. We don't know, just like we didn't with the flight school, but we feel that it's just something that, people are, that will support tremendously with local as well as outside. We kind of have a plan for it all, and the older, younger. So anyway, it's just sort of a model we feel good about. We feel like the demand's there, and we feel like it's really going to help San Angelo. We just got to, buying 60 planes is not the easiest with all the other stuff we got going on, and we've just got to get started.
May I suggest we move into executive session for some next level questioning? May I?
You don't want to hear from Howard College first, or?
Oh, are they here?
They're here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Sure.
Thank you, Jared. Invite Howard College representatives to speak to the board.
There you are.
Good morning.
Down just a little bit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Y'all want to introduce yourselves and tell us about your role in this?
I'm Pam Callan, and I'm the provost here in San Angelo's Howard College. And
And I'm Lana Hubbard. I'm Dean of Instruction here at Howard College.
so we were approached probably 5 years ago about the possibility of this program, and that was before we met Skyline. And we looked at the feasibility, and we knew we could not afford the program. We didn't have the space for it, and we did not have the funds to purchase the materials, the equipment. And then about 2 years ago, we were approached, Ernie Neighbors, who is the chair of our San Angelo Howard College Foundation. He talked to us and said he had spoken with Scott Turner, who mentioned the possibility. And so he set a meeting for us with Skyline, and we went out there and talked about the possibility, and that's how all this came about. And then probably a month after that, the president at ASU, President Hawkins, contacted us, and there was a meeting in his office with our president, and I don't believe Lana was there. I was there, and our vice president, and we talked about the possibility of this program, and it just kind of evolved from there. And we started working with Skyline. We could not do this without Skyline. They have the space, they have the equipment. As you all have heard me say many times, community colleges cannot use state funds for brick and mortar, so we could not build a facility there on our campus. So this is an opportunity for us to have a facility, and with Skyline having the equipment, there will be a cost to the students, a fee for using that equipment and for their facilities, but it's still a lot less than what we could do if we had to purchase it ourselves, which we don't have the funds to do. And Lana has been working diligently developing the curriculum. She's been working with Becky, and we have the curriculum ready to go, and she is our expert in that area. We've had a lot of interest from potential instructors. We've hired 2 part-time. We'll hire a program chair by the spring, and so we're moving along. We also have to submit to our accrediting body, which is SAC, COC, and get approved for what's called a substantive change, and that's to give us approval to teach the program off campus. And we're anticipating we'll be approved for that, and we're working very hard on that to try to get that submitted in January. And Skyline's working to get approval for the 147 for the flight school.
So one of the advantages of a student to choose the Howard College option and earn the associate's degree is that as an academic program, that student would be eligible for federal financial aid.
Yes, the federal financial aid and the opportunity for the pathway to earn the BAS degree. And we are talking with Carrie Mikulik at ASU about a pathway. We've spoken with Scott about that. So the students who want to go on can earn the BAS degree. But the main advantage for the students is they can get financial aid to help pay for the program.
So one of the issues that could arise is are your students eligible for the Hazelwood waiver of tuition and fees?
Yes.
Okay. We discovered at Angelo State that students in our flight program who were under the Hazelwood program would have all tuition and fees waived, including the fees paid to Skyline. And so we had to come up with the resources internally to pay the cost of their flight instruction. Have y'all thought about how y'all would be able to address that issue for students going through the aircraft mechanics program at your school who would not be required to pay the fees associated with taking the classes from Skyline?
I'm happy you brought that up. I will visit with our VA coordinator about that. But we had a generous donor who has endowed a scholarship for us with the Area Foundation, and so we would have to earmark money out of that scholarship to help cover those costs.
Okay, just wanted to make sure y'all were aware of that possible exposure with regard to that.
I'll be on that right away this afternoon.
So if I were a student interested in the program and I'm weighing which direction I want to go, what would be, not counting financial aid, what is your anticipated total cost for the associate's degree program?
I brought her notes with her. She's ready.
Good.
Yeah, so I've been working closely with Becky from Skyline to identify the classes we need to offer the program. And I shared a pathway. I don't know if that got shared with them or not. But basically, we've designed the program where there's lots of on-ramps and exit ramps. Because we also are aware that there's going to be some students who have some training. Perhaps they have their airframe already, but they don't have their power plant. Or they've taken some of the courses, or they have prior experience that we could bring in. So we've built a multi-level certificate program where they can enter and exit as they need to or as life happens, and they may have to take a semester off and come back on. But if a traditional student coming in, nothing, they're starting fresh with us and they go through the entire program, they're going to earn their airframe maintenance, their power plant, and their applied degree. We're looking around $27,000.
Okay.
And that includes all the tuition, fees, and everything that they would be required, the toolkit, and all that as well.
Would there be an option for those students to simply take the mechanics courses and use their financial aid and not complete the associate's degree?
Yes, they can. I mean, they can step out after they earn those certificates if they want to. We, of course, want to encourage them to finish out. The additional 15 hours of core that they need to earn their associate's degree, we aligned that with outcomes in the program, but we also took into account a lot of the dual credit pathways that our students have and looked at classes that perhaps some of these students would already have coming in or coming out of high school. So those wouldn't be additional classes that they would have to take. And Howard would be able, again, to bring in and transfer as a set of classes because with the any one of the certificates, they would establish residency with us, and we would be able to issue them that degree. So there's lots of opportunities to do transfer, credit for prior learning. So we would want to get them on whichever appropriate path they would need to be as quickly as possible, and then they would have access to financial aid based on their qualifications as well for that.
So given last legislative session's changes in the way that community colleges are funded, how would the success of this program impact your funding from the state?
It would be significant. So if y'all are not aware, the changes are based on completers for students who earn either academic certificates, associate's degrees, transfer, or they earn industry-based certifications. So for a student that's coming through that does all of these, we were looking at a potential for a cohort to be $80,000 to $100,000 in funding for us. So it is a significant benefit for us in that aspect. And we are only providing the program chair, which that individual would teach some courses as they're required to with our accreditation, but their main goal would be fostering the students through the pathway, reviewing curriculum, transcripts, helping with marketing, recruiting. That would be a huge part, is that they would be going out to the high schools, the area schools, promoting this program. So there's not a lot of cost up front, but it would be a huge benefit to our institution because it's another pathway of IBC's certifications and academic associate's degree that we could earn.
Great. Other questions from the board this morning?
I think Jerry touched on it a little bit about the other school in Dallas. I was curious, throughout the state of Texas, how many other schools are we aware of that have a similar program?
Well, I will tell you, our program is a little bit unique, and one of the focuses that Skyline was looking at is that a lot of the programs with the state have an airframe maintenance path. So the student earns that and an associate's degree, and then there's a separate path for power plant. And so what we've done is we've designed one where it's combined. So the program total is 4 semesters, so everything stacks on each other and everything goes into that associate's degree. And that's not how a lot of our partners like Midland, TSTC, Dallas, Tarrant County have set it up. UNT has a program that's similar to us. Texarkana has a program that's similar to us. I believe there's less than 10 in the state. I wouldn't want to lie to you on that, but based on my research, I think it was 7 to 10 that are doing it total in the academic pathway, but there's not many that are doing it this almost fast-tracked way where students are able to stack those credentials on top of each other and earn that one associate's degree. It doesn't necessarily benefit the student to have an AAS in airframe and an AAS in maintenance. So it really makes sense for them to get both those certifications and get the applied degree that they need, and then that's what they need to work. and I know there have been a lot of changes from the FFA on requirements, and Garrett might be able to talk more about that, but I know they used to be an hours-based program. Am I correct? Okay. And so that's a recent change that they don't require hours. It's all competency-based now. So that allows us the flexibility to really focus on the competencies that they need to sit for the certification and not have to worry about meeting an hour mark. And that's been a trend from across the state in trades programs, minimizing hours, focusing on competencies. When a student gets it, they move on, and we're able to go on to the next competency they need as well.
Mrs. Hubbard, you mentioned 27,000. How does that compare to other schools across the state?
Pretty comparable for, especially when you're looking at TSTC and Midland College, their programs are running from $24,000 to $30,000. Of course, theirs are not stackable, so they have additional semesters they would have to take. So the cost that we're having also allows, from a college, it's a huge saving for us because we are not providing the instructors. We're not providing the curriculum and things like that. But we have been able to waive our tuition and fees that we would charge a student if we're using a Skyline instructor. So for this class A, if Garrett is teaching it, we're not charging the students tuition and fees. We're only charging them the fees that Skyline would associate with that class. So that was a way that we were able to cut down the cost significantly, because if we hadn't done that, we would be looking at $36,000 to $40,000 for a degree. But we really evaluated what Howard was putting into it and what we were going to get back from the outcome. So it's definitely comparable. It is a more expensive degree than we offer at Howard. Our nursing degree is probably our most expensive degree, and it runs about $17,000 to $20,000. And this is all based on a full-time student. Now, if they take part-time or multiple semesters, that can extend that cost a little bit. But the return on investment, as far as their wages, is double what they're going to be getting from our other degrees. So we'll have to market this in a way where students know that they're making a long-term investment in their education, and they're going to see that triple when they get out of the field easily.
Other questions before we go into closed session?
Dr. Jones?
Yes, ma'am.
When we were first talking about the feasibility of this program, I went to the chamber and talked to Mike Berry to ask him, his input, and he did have some great information for us. I don't know if you'd like him to share that it convinced me that we needed to go forward with the program.
Regarding the need for folks with these certifications in the area?
Yes, and also how it can impact economic development here by bringing in additional businesses based on this need being met in the community.
Would the board like to hear from Mike Berry? Not a problem.
Mr. Berry, isn't that pretty much the same information you've delivered to us before? No, sir. Okay, come on.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
I'll keep it quick. Get your pens out because I'm going to throw some numbers at you. So based off of the Aviation's Technical Education Council's May 2024 report, the commercial aviation industry, they expect to be short 31,000 mechanics by 2031 across the nation. Locally, what that looks like is aircraft mechanics and service techs. We've got 15 active job ads. We've got 14 currently employed. The 10-year demand as it stands right now is about 23. However, those qualified graduates have a number of occupations that they can qualify for. So when you look at the general installation, maintenance, and repair occupations, right now we have 559 active job ads in this local area, with about 2,700 currently employed. And the 10-year demand for those general occupations is about 2,500 over the next 10 years. And to give you an idea of the types specifically of occupations that graduates of this type of program would qualify for, yes, in the aircraft maintenance and avionics, but also in automotive and diesel mechanics, heavy equipment and industrial machinery, marine mechanics, facilities maintenance and building operations, power generation energy, obviously all things manufacturing and industrial tech, automation technicians, railroad mechanics and technicians, as well as oil and gas industry, your rig mechanics and your pipeline technicians. I'd like to emphasize that while the local need today, specifically for those aviation mechanics, is not high, this is likened to an exercise of bringing, say, a Toyota production plant in town. If we were to do that, that generates a need for all the vendors and the OEM part manufacturers to be close to that manufacturing plant to supply them. They're going to flock to that. Generating this cohorts of students on a regular basis makes my job a million times easier to market San Angelo as a place that these types of businesses who need those mechanics need to set up shop here, because we've got a dedicated talent pipeline that we can feed them directly on a regular basis. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. At this time, the board will go into closed session. Executive session under the provision of Government Code Title V, Open Government, Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government, Chapter 551, Open Meetings, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement that meetings be open under the following sections. Section 551.087, Business Prospect Negotiations regarding Skyline Aviation Aircraft Mechanics School. Can everybody stay in? Is that all right, Brandon? Everybody has to go. Okay. It's now 10:46 a.m. Board is coming out of closed session. We're now on item number 9, follow-up and administrative issues. A, consideration and possible action of the items discussed in closed section if needed. Any motions from the board coming out of closed session?
Yes, I move to authorize the board president to negotiate and execute an economic development incentive agreement with Skyline Aviation in an amount not to exceed $1 million.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is made by Director Puelo, seconded by Director Spano. Any further discussion or questions from the board? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9B, announcement and consideration of future agenda items. Any future agenda items anyone want to consider?
If not, I do have one item to point out the obvious, that in future agendas, we'll be able to talk about Dr. Jones, but we won't be able to talk with Dr. Jones. He has been a significant contributor to this community for many years. In fact, I can't recall somebody engaged in academia who's made more application of their education than Dr. Jones in this community. And so we have benefited from him, and the chamber has benefited from him, and the community has benefited from him. And reluctantly, we turn him loose to go somewhere else. But thank you very much. When our board members go out, we usually try to send them with a plaque, and we'll make an attempt to get your plaque to you.
Okay.
But we thank you very much for your service to the community and to this organization.
Thank you, Michael. Very kind. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve. Okay, we now come to item 10 on the agenda, adjournment. Hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Director Mantooth, seconded?
Second.
Seconded by Director Gomez. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We stand adjourned.